We are here almost to the weekend as it is another edition of the Media Row podcast with me, Justin Miller, of course, sponsored by Kelly's Little Nipper and Stevens Automotive and Sales. Happy to have everyone here. This is really the start of just kind of football madness. Media day for Drake football was yesterday at noon. I went to it. That is going to be what we are covering today on the show. But man, it really does get you in the mood. Walking across that turf, seeing the players, seeing just people that I usually don't get to see unless I'm covering football games out there in Des Moines. So it was great. It was an amazing experience. I love doing this stuff. I am so nerdy and geeky about this stuff. I know there's people out there that hate media days. You hear the same things by coaches. I think we talked about this actually with the Big Ten media days where, and I agreed with it, like you know Kirk Ferentz is going to say the same thing. There's not going to be any breaking news at media day, but I still love it. I love every second of it. We're now officially 13 days away from the Drake Bulldogs kicking off their 2025 season against Upper Iowa, which totally spaced off. Joe Stacy, one of my biggest mentors and good buddy, is the play-by-play announcer there. So I get to see him that Thursday night at 6:30, August 28th. Make sure you get down to the Drake Stadium. A lot of really cool things that Drake is doing this year, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But before we do anything else, need to give a shout out to Kelly's Little Nipper at 1701 East Grand Avenue in Des Moines. They are proud sponsors of Drake football. One of the main reasons I wanted to get in touch with Jeff over at Kelly's Little Nipper, on top of their great food, great drinks, and even better community, is just their ability and their want to go and support Des Moines hometown team, the Drake Bulldogs. So Kelly's Little Nipper, they just made a post yesterday on Facebook about how excited they are to be another sponsor with Drake football. And I mean, they're just great people. If you want live music, go check them out over the weekends. If you want trivia, check them out on Wednesdays. If you just want to have a good time, check them out anytime, any day. Over there at 1701 East Grand Avenue in Des Moines. That's Kelly's Little Nipper. And make sure to use that keyword, Woodley, like Joe Woodley, who you're going to hear from a lot today in the show. Joe Woodley, use the keyword Woodley, and you get yourself a drink on the house. Yes, a drink on the house. To be honest with you guys, I came up with this idea, sent it to Jeff, fully expecting him to be like, no, we're not giving away free beer. And he went for it. He's like, yeah, let's do it. So guys, go there, 1701 East Grand Avenue in Des Moines, Kelly's Little Nipper. Use the keyword Woodley, get yourself some free drinks, and say that Media Row sent you. So, like I said, today's show, a lot packed into our 30 minutes of Drake Football Media Day. Joe Woodley, first time at Drake after 6 years with Grandview. And we'll get into kind of an overview of this team in a little bit. But before I went into that live read, I wanted to talk about how there's a lot of cool things Drake is doing this season. 100 years of Drake Stadium. They're going to have patches on the jerseys. They're going to have special logos designed on the field. So make sure to go out there that Thursday, 6:30. Thursday night. They're promoting it. You know, it's the first game of college football in 2025 here in the state of Iowa. All the other games are on Saturday. Drake kicks off, though, on Thursday. It's a great opportunity. They're going up against Upper Iowa, local battle. Going to be a lot of fun. And plus, Joe Woodley and this team is going to be a lot of fun to watch, too. So make sure you try to get out there because after that, they go like a month with being on the road. They have a week off right after that, which is, by the way, and I told Dave with Drake Athletics Communications that whoever set up the schedule, great work on getting themselves a bye the week of Cyhawk, because when I was a student broadcaster with my buddy JD Snover, my senior year, they kicked off right at Cyhawk kickoff time. And I always felt like that hurt attendance easily. So great work out of them. They have a bye, and then they go up against They go up against South Dakota State, which is going to be a lot of fun, but a huge test early on. So they're on the road for like 2 straight weeks, and then they're finally back home. So try to get out and see them on Thursday. But enough of this, the little stuff. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of what we saw and experienced over at Media Day at Drake Stadium Thursday at noon. So before we get into a lot of our audio and interviews with coaches and players that I want to share with you guys, I do want to do a little bit of a Drake background for people that maybe missed the show, because we did a little bit of one during the spring game. We did a little bit of one when Woodley came on for the first time, but I really want to dive more in depth with it and get you guys familiar with where Drake is at in 2025. So, to start the year, Drake picked second in the Pioneer Football League in the preseason poll. San Diego, they are picked number 1. They were the 2021 PFL champions. Drake, of course, back-to-back champs, trying to make it a three-peat after winning in 23 and 24. New head coach, Joe Woodley, 2-time NAIA national champ, 6 years at Grandview as the head coach. He had been there for over 10 years. Never lost a regular season game. I think that's the big thing everybody goes to, and what I love of just how crazy that stat is. And you can have people out there go, well, they were the better team, they should have won, or, well, it's NAIA. It's still really competitive football, and it doesn't matter if it's Division I, Division II, NAIA, PFL, NCAA. It does not matter. If you never lose a regular season game in 6 years, you're doing something right. So I think a lot of fans really excited about that. But Drake, after kind of a few years after winning in the early 2010s of the PFL, kind of went through a little bit of a slump. But in the past 2 years, when they win back-to-back PFL championships, start to find a groove. 16-7 in the last 2 years. But then you have Todd Stepsis go to UNI. He brings his staff with him. Coach Joe Woodley comes into Des Moines, just a few blocks from Grandview, and he brings in one hell of a coaching staff. And this is something that you'll hear the players talk about later in the show from our interviews with them. But first and foremost, the offensive coordinator, Kyle Kempt. You know him as the quarterback from Iowa State that did something no Iowa State quarterback had done in years, of beating Oklahoma in Oklahoma with Baker Mayfield. I think they were a top 3 team at the time. But you have Kyle Kempt, who brings in so much as an offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. And you have a guy that helped build Brock Purdy. And it's really exciting. And from what I gathered on Media Day, a lot of people just really gravitate to his football knowledge. And then same goes for the defensive coordinator and linebackers coach, Adam Cox. Iowa Hawkeye fans know that name. He played with the Iowa Hawkeyes in 2011, 2015. He was on that team that went undefeated and then lost to Michigan State in the Big Ten title game. He was a defensive assistant coach at Iowa from 2019 to 2023, and then last year was at Indiana State as a safeties coach, and now comes back to Iowa to help out Joe Woodley. And it's just been amazing to hear from these players and coaches and just people even outside of the locker rooms just really kind of understand the basketball minds that Woodley has surrounded this team with. And so we have a bunch of roster moves, and we'll get into some of the returners and key returners that Joe Woodley has, but he had a lot of work ahead of him, and he brings it up in his opening statement to the media on Thursday. But here are the big names that Drake lost and that Woodley had to really try to build up for. So, number one, on the defensive line, someone who is one of the best defenders in the state, I believe. Like, watching him, he could have easily played for the Iowa Hawkeyes, in my opinion. And that's Finn Claypool. He's now at Fresno State. He was a defensive lineman. PFL first team 3 times in all 3 years he played. Freshman Defensive Player of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year last year. He was a 2-time finalist for the Buck Buchanan Award. And so that's a huge name you're losing on this strong defensive line for Drake. Then you lose your starting quarterback, Luke Bailey, 2024 All-PFL first team. He entered last year on the Walter Payton Award watch list for D1 FCS Offensive Player of the Year. He transfers. And then you're going into spring ball being like, all right, Blake Ellingson, he's the veteran. He knows this group. He is going to be the starter. Well, Blake Ellingson, he leaves. He entered spring ball as the clear favorite to earn the starting spot, but then left a month ago. Just decided football wasn't for him anymore. Retired. And so you'll hear from Woodley. He had to do some work in the transfer portal and also some work recruiting to try to fill that huge spot of the quarterback position. So that's kind of your Drake overview. Something of just to give you an idea of what Woodley is taking over, what he's brought in, what has gone away from Drake from a year ago, and to kind of give you a little bit of a structure before we get into Media Day. And we'll start with just how Media Day opened up with Joe Woodley. It's a long opening statement, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It's about 9 minutes long, but he really dives into everything, gives great background on the players that you'll hear from in this podcast. He gives great background onto what happened in spring and summer ball and kind of what's going on at this moment in fall camp. So just really dives through everything. Anything a fan of football would want to know about a team, this is the best opening statement. Sure, is it 9 minutes long? But it needed to be, and I absolutely loved it. So without further ado, I will shut up. And here is Joe Woodley, the new head coach for the Drake Bulldogs, his opening statement ahead of the Media Day.
I appreciate you for organizing this, and thanks to the media, the guys that are here today. Pretty lucky here in Des Moines to have, I don't know how you guys do it, how you guys have such good relationships with one another, but I'm sure that's rare. I would guess that's a fairly competitive world, but just always had a lot of admiration and respect for you guys and what you do. And again, so far, the coverage you've given us over here at Drake, and again, I just moved 10 blocks, so I'm familiar with all you guys and what you did for us over there as well. So really appreciative. I know Dave touched on the players that we have here. On the offensive side of the ball, we got Luke Woodson, Deerfield, Illinois, just a kid. Just a little bit of background on a little bit of these guys. Woody's running back for us, just one of those guys you just love having in your program. Kind of a glue guy, if you will. Just real thankful for Woody. Taj, wide receiver for us from the Phoenix, Arizona area. Just one of those ultimate relentless competitors that we have in our program. Thankful to have him here with us today. Nathan Vandy Woostein, I think I'm saying his name right, still new. But Vandy, just kind of one of the mainstays on our offensive line, and just real thankful for Vandy, one of the great leaders that we do have in this program on defense. Jacob Allen, West Des Moines Valley product, real proud of Jacob, battled back from some injuries that he sustained last year, didn't have him in the springtime, and we are happy to have him back, that's for sure, just seeing the way he's been practicing to this point. Colin Schremp, again, another one of those guys that we didn't have in spring, just didn't know what Colin was really all about, but thankful that we have him back right now, and just having a really good camp for us. So, and again, another one of those great leaders. All these guys are on our leadership council, so really happy with what Colin's done to this point. And then Sean Allison, probably one of the more decorated guys, as far as what he's done in the past and some of the things that he's up for this spring. The Buck Buchanan Award for one of the top college or FCS players on defense, and very well deserving of that recognition, that honor, whatever you want to call it. Again, just one of the great leaders that we have in this program. The way he brings it, no matter what he does, whether it's in the classroom, in the weight room, out here on the field, just a guy that you feel real good about that's on your team, and I can't wait to see what Sean does moving forward here this season. Just a quick off-season kind of capsule. I'll try and get through this as quick as I can. We've got 10 coaches other than myself on staff, and the goal for me with hiring those coaches, we were able to, in this world of college coaching, it's hard to keep coaches together a long time, and we went from spring to fall with no turnover. So I think that tells you a little bit about the staff that we do have, that they want to be here. And my goal when I was hiring those staff members were to bring guys in here from winning programs and guys that really made a lot of sense to Drake. We brought in coaches from Iowa, Iowa State, North Dakota State, Montana State, Grandview, where I was just at, all highly successful programs, guys that expect to win. That's what our players deserve because they expect to win. They've been doing a lot of that here the last couple years, and I felt it was important to surround those guys with a lot of coaches that expect to win too, and I'm no different than that. Pretty youthful staff. I think the average age is about 26 years old. I am all of a sudden very old, 44 years old. Next oldest coach is 32, and we have one as young as 23. So they bring a lot of energy to this place, and I think that relates well to the players that we have. Without crossing that line, we're not their buddies, we're not their friends. We are their coaches, and I've been real pleased with the coaching staff that we put together and the way I've seen them operate here over the last several months. So excited about what we have there. On the recruiting side of things, I had to replace a pretty robust class, if you will, 23 fifth-year seniors, I think it was, that left the program, and I felt it was important for us to, somewhat restock that, if you will, replenish that, and bring in some transfers. That's just kind of the day and age that we're in college athletics right now, and to my knowledge, I know that hasn't been much of a practice here at Drake, but like I said, I think that with what the times bring, I think you got to adapt to that a little bit, and the transfers that we did bring in are certainly making an impact for us right now at a lot of different positions, and I'm real excited about what they're going to do moving forward. We brought in a big number, a big class, going through spring ball. It was a challenge at times just because of the number situation, so I wanted to get that, get that on track, if you will. 41 freshmen that we brought in, so it's a big number of recruits that we brought in. We're sitting at about 121 on our roster right now, which is about where you want to be. In just this recruiting class alone, we brought in 13 student athletes from the state of Iowa, something that's very near and dear to me. That doesn't mean it's the only thing that we're going to do, but I do think it's important to have a local presence, so certainly proud of that fact. I'd mentioned spring ball a little bit. We got through spring ball again by the skin of our teeth a little bit. We were about one play away in that spring game from having to shut that thing down and just do some drill work. We had a lot of people in the stands that night, and I didn't want to make them watch us do drill work, so we made it through. And again, that's a testament to a lot of the kids in that program that maybe fought through some things. But it was a good time for us to implement our philosophy, our standards, our expectations, and of course schemes. Schemes is last there, if you notice. Very important, but not the most important thing when you're starting over with a football team. I think coaches sometimes fall into that trap, but I've hopefully made it clear with our players that it's about the people in this program, and those things will come. They are important, but I want to make sure we're aligning ourselves with the right people. So, and then flashing forward after spring ball to summer workouts, we had 87 guys here that trained all summer long. To my knowledge, at least talking with the players, I think in the past it's been somewhere in the neighborhood of between 55 and 60, which is a decent number, good number, but we had 87 that were here all summer, and then after the 4th of July we had 107 that were here every day. So again, and then they had player-led activities once a week, and those things go a long ways as you start. So when we started in camp, we were able to hit the ground running for the most part, and now we're 13 practices in, and I don't want to say we're clicking on all cylinders, because because we still got plenty of time left here in camp. Plenty of time may be a stretch, but we've got some time left. Got a big scrimmage Saturday, so really looking forward to that. But again, didn't mean to jump ahead there, but I'm just real eager to begin my first year as the head football coach at Drake. And man, it's been 8 months. It seems like it's been about 8 days since I got hired. So it's went fast, which tells me that I'm in the right spot. I'm where I need to be, where I want to be. Along with that, I would say, the guys that are the players that are here today have just really made this a welcoming experience for me. Just a great group of young guys. That's probably the best way to put it. They've been very supportive from the beginning. And again, I know I mentioned the transfer stuff a little bit ago, but it would have been easy for a lot of those guys to tuck their tail and get out of town with the coaching change. But a lot of these guys, or most of these guys, if not all, stuck around. I think we had a couple casualties that moved on to other places, and I can't say how much that meant to me that they wanted to stay and be a part of this thing, which tells me, this thing's way bigger than a coach or anybody. It's about this place, this school. Drake's a special place, and I think these guys certainly have realized that.
So a few things on that opening statement I want to get to. Number one, talk about just having to, and it's with every coach that comes into a program. In this day and age, you're going to have a lot of transfers, but 23 fifth-year seniors transferred. And just him having to talk about, the quarterback battle and having to go out there and find a transfer himself as he's losing transfers. And it's just, I think it was a great way of explaining this day and age for a head football coach. And it doesn't matter if it's on the FCS level or the FBS level, Division I, Division II, NAIA, NCAA. It doesn't matter. This day and age, NIL is everywhere. It's hard for a head coach to take over a program, and when you lose so much. So I liked how he brought up that stuff. I also really enjoyed how he gave background on the players you'll hear from in a little bit. I also liked how he brought up, too, of just, this team's kind of identity is going to be physicality. And you hear from players, you hear from Woodley of just that's going to be this team's identity. And if you remember tuning into Grandview games once in a while, I think that's a thing that stood out. That's a thing you see Coach Woodley, and a team is going to be stacked at the defensive line, is going to be ready to take a hit, is willing to take a hit and get back up. And that's what this Drake team's going to be about. And it's not too different from Todd Stepsis, who was also a defensive coordinator before he took over the head coaching job at Drake. But, I haven't seen any practices. Spring ball, of course, that spring game is basically a practice, but a little safer. But even in that spring game, you could tell guys were willing to put a hit. And I think we talked to Woodley a few weeks ago on the show of just, is that something you look for when you're looking for the right guys in your group, is someone who's willing to just kind of lay a hit. So physicality is definitely something that triggered me, and I wrote down right away on my notes. But then something I really wanted to know, and a question I asked Coach, was you have a team that is talking about how much they lost, of 23 fifth-year seniors transferring, of losing a quarterback when in the spring that you thought was going to be your starter, of having to rebuild an entire coaching roster, and yet they're picked second in the league. And you can look at that as to the strength of the league, but I think it speaks more as to what Drake has been able to build, the players they were able to keep, and also what Coach Woodley brings into this program. And what he brings to any program is winning. So, with that being said, here's the audio from Coach Joe Woodley talking about just what gives him the confidence that this team is able to compete right away despite all the transition that has taken place in the offseason.
approach really on both ends, the coaches, their approach, and then the players' approach and their response to the coaching, out on the field. And I just think we're preparing them pretty well, and they're buying into it. I can't say that these guys have totally bought in yet. We really haven't had a whole lot of adversity, especially out on the field. That's when you see a lot of true colors come out in guys. And once we get to those points and see how we navigate through those, I'll have a much better feel and probably be able to give you a little bit better answer on that. But it is new, and but I'm confident in the leadership that we have in this program to help us kind of navigate through those waters. And like I said, I don't know when that's going to be. It's not that I'm looking forward to those times, but as a leader, I've got to show my poise and my resilience in those situations. As do our leaders. They need to be an extension of this coaching staff, and I've talked to them about it. And I don't know exactly what that answer is going to be until I'll have a better answer next year, probably a little bit. But like I said, certainly not looking forward to those moments. But they're bound to happen, and it could happen the first play of that Upper Iowa game. I don't know when it's going to rear its head, but we've got to be able to push forward after that.
That is kind of what Joe Woodley spoke on. Then we got to break out and go into the player interviews. And before we get into those, be sure to tune into this show each week, starting on the 27th, every Wednesday, unless some scheduling changes happen. Of course, I told Coach he's got 1,000 things on his mind. I'm fully fine with, being flexible with him being a head coach. But we're going to try to do Wednesdays with Coach Woodley and do a little one-on-one, recap the previous weekend, preview the upcoming battle, and just have some fun with Coach on this show each week. So if you're looking for your Drake head coaching one-on-one sessions, this is the place to go to each Wednesday, starting on August 27th, the day before the opening kickoff against Upper Iowa. So the two players I spoke to that really made an impact on me today of just going through media day and seeing kind of where this team is at, both offensively and defensively. First up is the running back, wide receiver, Swiss Army knife of a guy, the senior Taj Hughes. And it really, let's just have him speak for himself right here.
It's more fun than anything else. I love being able to do it all, like being a little Swiss Army knife, coming out of the backfield, running routes, blocking, whatever they tell me to do. I just want to do it. Difficulties, I guess, it makes it easier when you learn the whole playbook as a whole because you have to know it all rather than just a couple positions. So I guess it's a little harder in the very beginning to pick up on the new offense as we are now, but it's been a lot of fun still.
So Taj Hughes is going to be looked upon as an X factor offensively right away because not only was he coming off of being the leading receiver a year ago with 647 yards receiving on 73 catches with 4 touchdowns, this dude is going to be looked upon to fill a running back role, to kind of do everything. Like he said in his interview with me, he is ready to be that Swiss Army knife of a player for the Drake Bulldogs. On the running side of things, last year, 16 carries for 86 yards and a touchdown. But year after year, this guy has just shown great improvement. In 22, he had 5 carries in 4 games, 14 yards, 1 reception. 23, in 7 games, he had 4 rushes for 9 yards. And it's just great to see a guy who is willing to take on any role. And how excited he was in that interview with us of just being able to fill any gap this team needs. And this team is going to need it. When you don't have a quarterback, and it's already in August, where you have a quarterback battle and you're not sure who's going to be starting, you need someone to rely on offensively. And that is who Taj Hughes is going to be. And just speaking with him, he has confidence that radiates off of him. He's got this comfortability with taking on the pressure and being the guy, wanting to be the guy. And I think it all stems from who he was able to learn from. So he was able to, despite being more of a receiver, he was able to learn from a running back in Darian Boyland, who I was always a huge fan of. And had 2 great seasons of 600 plus yards in 2022 and in 23. But last season, he did have an injury that really kind of stunted him and ended his year. And then he, of course, went on to transfer. But Darian Boyland, this guy was able to set up Taj Hughes and kind of prepare him, I think, in a way, for moments like this. And I think Taj Hughes is going to be a huge X factor very early on for this Drake Bulldogs offense. And then, he brings up the changes in the staff and how he's able to adjust to it, because I think that's another strong effort. Not only is he a guy that can do anything athletically, great hands as a receiver, just great mindset and mentality from a senior, he also brings up how he's able to adjust to this new coaching staff, to this new playbook. And, like we brought up, the physicality is all over the place, and he brings it up too.
New coaching staff's great. Every position group, there's a competent coach at the helm. Meetings have been very productive. Practice very productive. I know we talked about Woodley just talked about practice a little bit, and it's definitely physical. It's a lot of fun, but the coaching staff's a lot of fun too. So we have fun and get a lot of work done.
So the offensive player to keep in mind, Taj Hughes, that is a guy to look out for in that Thursday matchup against Upper Iowa and just for the rest of the season. That is offensively. Now moving to the defensive side, which is going to be loaded. This Drake defense under Joe Woodley, who always has a great presence defensively, has a great defensive mind, working alongside him in Adam Cox, is going to set up this team for success. But one of the main reasons this team is going to be successful is the leadership they have, the veteran leadership and just presence of Sean Allison, a senior linebacker. This man has been, let's go through all the preseason stuff he has been listed for. 2025 preseason Buck Buchanan watch list. He's one of 30 players on this list. Only player from the PFL. In 2024, he was all PFL second team. Last year, 105 total tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, and an interception, just all over the field. And now with Finn Claypool being gone on the defensive side of the ball, he is going to be looked upon to be the guy. So here is Sean Allison talking with us during Media Day to talk about the awards, to talk about the pressure of being the guy. And again, much like Taj Hughes, he is ready to step up into that role.
Yeah, I think the most important thing for me and the rest of the guys that are older, been here, is just kind of bringing along the younger guys, the new freshmen, the transfers, and kind of just teaching them the culture, and kind of showing them the standard, and just being able to kind of bridge that gap between the older guys and the younger guys with the new staff has been the most important thing for sure.
And then one thing I wanted to get to with Sean Allison was, again, yes, he has all these accolades, but the coaching staff that Woodley has put up is outstanding. Just the people. For a fan base, I think he did a great job of including Iowa guys, so you have familiar faces. You get the fans excited about that right away. But then for the players, to bring in people that have been there, have been in those shoes. And that's what Sean Allison really hits on with Adam Cox, who's the former Hawkeye, played in 2011 to 2015. And it was just a great answer to me just asking him of, what does Adam Cox bring that brings you guys confidence? So here is the senior linebacker, Sean Allison, talking about defensive coordinator and linebackers coach, Adam Cox.
I'd definitely say just being able to be confident in him and his knowledge of the game is the biggest thing, knowing that he played at a big stage. He's played in football before. He's been in our shoes before, maybe even bigger shoes. But no, it's been great. He's been awesome. Very open to meeting with us, extra, whatever it is, the whole 9 yards. But he's been great. He's a very knowledgeable coach. He's great with relationships, great being able to kind of get the best out of our players on the field. And then also he played fullback at Iowa, so being able to kind of get the offensive side of the mind as well. He definitely knows a little bit more few things than just a defensive coach would. So it's been solid.
So Media Day of 2025 is in the books. Now it's just time to play football. They have another scrimmage this Saturday. I believe it's closed. But another scrimmage this Saturday. Woodley says that's huge for that quarterback position of just figuring out who's comfortable taking the reins for this offense under center. The offensive line, we'll see how they improve, and then just how strong is this defense going to truly be. That is preseason picked second in the PFL. Before we wrap up, though, there are a few names I wanted to bring up that didn't get to do one-on-one interviews. Number one, we've talked about how the wide receivers are the biggest question mark on this offense. Well, I guess quarterbacks are probably the biggest question mark, but right below it, 1B to the 1A of a quarterback is the wide receivers. We know Taj Hughes is ready to step up. We've heard that there's some really strong transfers that Woodley was able to pick up. We haven't heard the names, though. And so that's a huge question mark. But one thing that I always thought Drake did well in these past 2 years has been the ability to utilize the tight ends. I'm a huge fan of including those guys. I mean, when we get into the NFL, and I'm talking about my Seahawks who just released Noah Fant, former Hawkeye, which I'm kind of upset about, we'll be all right. But I will bring up how Seattle doesn't utilize their tight ends as much as I always think they should. And then when we talk college football about Iowa, we'll talk about, man, they do such a good job of utilizing their tight ends. And Drake has done this for the past few years. But they lose a huge name on that side of the ball with Trey Radica, 577 yards a year ago, 4 touchdowns. He was the go-to tight end for any quarterback, whoever was stepping up, whether it was Luke Bailey, whether it was Blake Ellingson, didn't matter. He was kind of wide receiver number one as a tight end for this Drake team. Drake's tight end number one going into this season is going to be Parker Otloff, who had 22 receptions for 204 yards, 3 touchdowns a year ago. Really excited to see how they utilize him, how Woodley, how Kyle Kemp utilize him in the playmaking schemes, even though I'm sure they're going to want to be a ground and pound team, especially with those early question marks at the quarterback position. Now we know Taj Hughes is a wide receiver running back split. You know, he mentioned to me one of his favorite players growing up, since he's an Eagles fan, is Darren Sproles. So you have a guy that can try to do everything, but you still need that solid running back number one. And they have that in Luke Woodson, who took over for that injured Darian Boyland a year ago, 289 yards, 2 touchdowns in 2024. Excited to see now when he gets the whole season as the starting running back, what he's able to do and how this offensive line will do a job of protecting and blocking and trying to get him ahead of the sticks. So those are the offensive players I wanted to bring up. But another thing that we didn't get to talk to Woodley or any of the players about in Media Day has just been the success of special teams for the Drake Bulldogs. I mean, to do that meme, special teams, special players, you have a lot of those guys for the Drake Bulldogs. But they also lost a couple. So for the past few years, Drake has been one of the best in the PFL in special teams, one of the best units. But they lose their all-conference kicker and punter. One guy, though, that I think is going to be looked upon as the veteran leadership and the go-to guy for anything on special teams is Brent Wiesling, senior long snapper, 2025 preseason All-PFL. Huge importance for this Bulldogs special teams. And so I just wanted to make sure he got the love, because I know sometimes those long snappers and special teams players can get overlooked. Did not want to overlook him. He is someone that is going to be very special and very important and crucial to this Drake's team and their success in 2025. So that does it for our Media Day coverage. A lot of good stuff. I can't wait. I mean, if you guys can tell, I feel like I've been talking at 100 miles per hour because I'm just so hyped about this Drake team. So first game, August 28th, 6:30 in Des Moines at Drake Stadium, 100 years of Drake Stadium. Make sure to go out there, support the team. If you're a Cyclone fan, you got Kyle Kemp to cheer for. If you're a Hawkeye fan, you got Adam Cox. And if you're just a football fan, you got Joe Woodley, who knows how to get it done. So a lot of good people on this team. Really excited to cover them this year. Anything Drake football, make sure to tune in to the Media Row podcast. We will be at every home game. We will be giving live updates. We will be there for coaches' interviews, player interviews, post-game, as well as throughout the week doing pregame interviews. So a lot of good stuff ahead for the football season. I cannot wait. Before we get into wrapping up the show, need to give a shout out to Stevens Automotive and Sales at 5320 Northwest Beaver Drive in Johnston, Iowa. 35 years of family owned and operated here in this state. Lovely people. They've been there for my whole family whenever we needed them. That is what you're going to get. They're going to treat you like family. That's the funny thing is, sure, has my mom been going there for 20 years? Yes. But I go in there as an 18-year-old. I still know nothing about cars. But knowing nothing about cars, and they treat me like family. They communicated with me through every step. And also, they're there for any questions where when my Impala, when I was 20, and I was on the interstate leaving iHeart from producing Simon Conway's show, car basically was like going to explode. It was smoking as I'm on, I had to pull over to this Quick Trip and called Stevens. And right away, they're like, all right, this is what we can do. This is how we can get to the shop. Helped me right away. And those are the kind of people you want to be handling your car. Whether it's just a quick oil change, whether it's a big deal like your car is smoking on the side of the road and you need to get it fixed here soon. They can do everything to make sure you are safe behind the wheel, ready to get back on the road. 5320 Northwest Beaver Drive in Johnston, Iowa. Stevens Automotive and Sales. Make sure to tell them that Media Row sent you. So, here we go. Here comes the football season chaos that we all love. And shows are going to be packed. They're going to be packed like this, where we have interviews with players, coaches, or we're going to bring in interviews like we're doing next week, starting off with the biggest game of the weekend. Iowa State taking on Kansas State, 22-17, Farmageddon in Ireland. Starting off on Monday, we have the 17th ranked Kansas State Wildcats. We are getting their point of view first from Cole Carmarati, who is from 24/7 Sports, someone I met when I was covering Iowa State as a beat reporter, and someone who has always given great interviews. And I'm really excited to hear about this hype of this Wildcats team, what they're expecting from Iowa State, what they need to do against Iowa State. All of those questions will be answered on Monday. And then we get John Walters to give the Cyclones' point of view on Wednesday. Next week, super busy week. Can't wait. Make sure you guys join us. Subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. We will see you next time on the Media Row podcast.